All right, let's get right into it. Trying to find a therapy for a disease like ALS, that's one of the biggest mountains to climb in all of medicine. For a long time, progress felt incredibly slow. But today, things are different. Things are moving faster than ever. So we're going to unpack the incredible system that's making all of this happen.
So let's just start with the biggest question right out of the gate. Why is this disease so incredibly hard to solve? It's a question that has honestly stumped scientists and, frustrated families for generations.
And believe me, that is not an exaggeration. The source material flat out calls it an extraordinarily difficult undertaking. We are talking about a disease that attacks the nervous system with a biology so complex, it takes immense resources and a global effort to even make a dent.
To really get why the new solution is so brilliant, you first have to understand the old problem. You have to appreciate the sheer scale of it. For decades, ALS research was basically hitting a brick wall, over and over again. Let's take a look at what that wall was made of.
Now, what's fascinating here is how all these barriers are connected. They kind of feed on each other. You've got this immense scientific complexity, right? That means you need decades of work and literally billions of dollars. But because ALS affects a relatively small number of people, the usual commercial incentives for a company to make that huge investment, well, they just weren't there. And that led to all these scattered, fragmented research efforts where really promising ideas would just get stuck and die in the lab.
But then, over the last couple of decades, something really remarkable started to happen. The entire field, all these different players, began to organize themselves to systematically tear down that wall brick by brick. They built what we're calling the ecosystem. And this, right here, this is the core idea. It's not just one lab or one big discovery. Nope, it's a whole web of different organizations, each one a specialist in one part of the puzzle, all working together with one single goal in mind: speed. Getting an idea from a lab bench to a person in the clinic as fast as is humanly possible.
So the key to understanding this whole thing is that the ecosystem is built around a super logical pipeline. It starts with the most basic fundamental science and then moves step by step all the way to testing potential therapies in people. We're going to use this pipeline as our map to see how it all fits together. All right, let's start at the very beginning of that pipeline. Before you can even dream of making a drug, you have to know what you're aiming at. You need a target.
And everything, literally everything, is built on the answer to this one question. What exactly is going wrong inside our motor neurons? Which genes are messing up? Which proteins are folding the wrong way? This is where the hunt begins.
So to answer that big question, you have these groups called discovery accelerators. Think of them as the explorers. They're often nonprofits or university groups that fund that pure basic science. Their whole job is to fuel the hunt for new ideas and to point a flashlight on those potential targets for a future drug.
Okay, so the discovery labs are on fire. They're generating hundreds of potential targets. But that actually creates a new problem, right? Which of these leads are real and which are just noise? You can't possibly chase down every single one. It would cost a fortune and take forever. You have to validate. You have to pick the right horse to bet on. And that is where data accelerators come in. They are the validators, the pattern finders. They do this by gathering absolutely massive data sets. We're talking genetic info, clinical data from thousands and thousands of patients. Then they unleash powerful computers to sift through it all and find the hidden connections. They're the ones who can say, you know that target you found in a dish? Yeah, we see it here in thousands of people. That's a real target. Go after that one. It's absolutely critical for not wasting time and money. So now we have a target, and it's been validated. The next massive challenge is to actually build something, a molecule, a new gene therapy, whatever it is, that can hit that target and hopefully change the course of the disease.
And that is the job of what we call translational accelerators. They are the builders. They take that validated idea and do all the early, gritty, hands-on work of drug development. They are screening thousands of compounds, testing therapies in cell cultures and animal models, all to see if the idea actually works in a real, living system. Now, this right here is so important. This translational stage, for years, has been known as the Valley of Death in drug development. Why? Because this is where so many fantastic scientific ideas go to die. It's incredibly expensive, it's technically really hard, and for a long time, there just wasn't enough money to get good ideas from one side to the other. These translational accelerators were built specifically to be a bridge over that valley.
Okay, so once a potential therapy makes it across that bridge, it's not done. Not even close.
It's now entering the final stages of its journey. And these are by far the most expensive and complex, getting huge amounts of funding and actually testing the drug in people. And that, of course, brings us to the money. A single clinical trial program can cost hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, it's just a staggering amount. So where does that kind of fuel come from? Well, the ecosystem has two main engines to power this.
So on one side, you've got venture accelerators. Think venture capital. They invest big money in biotech companies to turn these promising projects into actual commercial products. On the other side, you have philanthropic accelerators. These are foundations driven by their mission, not profit. They can fund projects anywhere along the pipeline, and they're often willing to take bigger risks on really innovative early-stage ideas that venture capital might not be ready for. In a way, they're like the glue that helps hold the whole system together.
And finally, you have the therapy, you have the money, now you have to test it. This is where clinical trial accelerators come in. They are the absolute masters of logistics. They build and coordinate these huge networks of hospitals and clinics, making it way easier to find and enroll patients and run trials smoothly and efficiently. They are essential for getting us answers, real, definitive answers, about whether a new drug actually works as fast and as safely as possible.
So, we've walked through all the individual players, right? The discoverers, the validators, the builders, the funders. But the real magic here, the true game changer, isn't any one of these parts. It's how they all lock together and work as one. And if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this right here. This system is designed for collaboration. It's like a relay race. Each accelerator is a specialist, and when their part is done, they hand the baton smoothly to the next specialist in line. This keeps great ideas from getting dropped or stalling out.
And here you can just see that whole relay race in action. Discovery finds a target, data validates it, translational builds a drug to hit it. Venture and philanthropy fund the whole operation, and clinical trials test it in patients. It's a seamless, coordinated flow from start to finish.
So, what's the bottom line? The bottom line is that this system, it works. This interconnected, collaborative machine is the main reason we are seeing more progress, more hope, and more shots on goal in ALS than at any other time in history. It has fundamentally changed the game.
And that really leaves us with one last massive question to think about. This ecosystem was custom-built to solve the very specific challenges of ALS. But the model itself, this idea of a coordinated network designed to systematically break down barriers, that's a really powerful idea. So you have to wonder, what other tough, unsolved diseases could be next? What could a system like this do for them?